I'm Frank Shi. Welcome back to Thai PBS World. Thailand is forging cooperation with regional countries by joining economic blocs and organizing military drills. Thailand and India have finalized this year's joint military exercise in Dak province to strengthen regional security. So join me now is the ambassador of India to Thailand, Ambassador Nagesh Singh. Great to have you on the show, Ambassador.
Thank you for having me.
I think, of course, the first topic that we talk about is the collaboration between Thailand and India on the military joint military exercise this year. So how have you seen the military exercise in between the two countries, and how has the result come?
So, India-Thailand relations are ancient, and they're deep and multifaceted. Defense and security cooperation is a very important pillar of our multifaceted bilateral relations. So what the exercise Maitri, which in Sanskrit means friendship, which was carried out a few weeks back in Tak province, was the 13th edition of that military exercise. Last 4 years it didn't happen because of COVID, etc. Now we have, revived it. It is aimed at, sharing of best practices of the two armed forces, interoperability, etc. India and Thailand, but share a territory, the Bay of Bengal. We are neighbors, maritime neighbors, and in India we call Thailand civilizational neighbor. We have common interests in this region. We want peace and stability. So this exercise is an example of how we are working together on the defense and security side. But I must tell you, this is not the only, because this was between the Royal Thai Army and the Indian Army.
Yes.
We have a similar exercise. It's called Siam Bharat, between the Royal Thai Air Force and the Indian Air Force. Last year in December, for the first time, we had exercise Ayutthaya between the Royal Thai Navy and the Indian Navy. So, it is a deepening partnership. And like I said, we have similar interests. We have common threat perceptions, whether traditional or non-traditional, drug trafficking, human trafficking, piracy, etc. So it just shows that how the deepening of our relationship is happening beyond political and economic side, even on the defense and security cooperation. And just let me add that, we are also now looking at deepening our partnership on defense technology and defense production. Your foreign minister was in Delhi 10 days back, and to have a bilateral meeting with our foreign minister, and also for the BIMSTEC foreign ministers retreat. And one of the issues in the bilateral meeting which came up is that why don't India and Thailand look at co-production and joint development of defense equipment, etc. Not just for our two countries, but for the region and beyond. So it's a very welcome development. But like I said, this was the 13th edition, so this exercise has been going on for some time.
But it's very important you talk about, actually. It's not just one department, it's Navy, it's the military drill too, for the benefits, mutual benefits for both countries. I think one question I have to follow is, in 2024, in this era, geopolitical issues are very significant in defense, in security. So how important is this, especially talking about 13th edition of the military exercise, how important is to strengthen the joint military exercises?
It's very
together?
important. Like you said, we are living in a time where geopolitical tensions are high. Countries are facing non-traditional security threats, which are not necessarily emanating from political differences, but like I mentioned, drug trafficking, human trafficking, the criminal gangs across the border in the north of Thailand, where human trafficking is happening. Indians have been caught up in Myanmar and other parts of the region. So the military exercises, it helps us better understand each other. And like I said, with rising geopolitical tensions in the world all over, it's important that two friendly countries work with each other to prepare. It's not like we are preparing for war or anything. It's not like that. But just that two friendly countries get together and use the defense forces to be prepared for any eventuality. We never know what's going to happen in the future. But the idea of these exercises is to prepare each other, to help each other in securing our territories and our joint interests in this region.
One issue that both countries are facing right now is the Myanmar issue too. You talk about the Indian actual nationals, some of them lured into Myanmar to do the scam work. There, of course, Thai people and other nationality too. One of the reasons, I think, to strengthen the cooperation is to face and solve this issue. But right now it's pretty difficult. So how would you see the cooperation between Thailand and India to maybe hasten the collaboration together to tackle this issue together?
Very good point, because India and Thailand, we have long borders with Myanmar.
Yes.
We don't have the luxury of distance like some other countries have. For us, peace and stability in Myanmar is essential because it impacts your national security and it impacts our national security. You have about 2,400 kilometers of border. We have about 1,700 kilometers of border. There are ethnic relationships on both sides. So whenever there is instability in Myanmar, it affects our internal security, whether I mentioned drug trafficking, human trafficking, gun trafficking, the ethnic relationships, because on the Indian side also they have relations on the Myanmar side. So India and Thailand have very common interest. We don't want to interfere in Thailand, but we want a peace process which is Myanmar-led, Myanmar-owned, so that peace and stability and security is established in a country which is our neighboring country, with which both our countries have civilizational links. Thailand, for both our countries, stability and security in Thailand, in Myanmar is also important because of our connectivity projects. We have, India has an Act East policy where we want to connect with, through Thailand and Myanmar, to the rest of Southeast Asia. The India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway, which is being constructed. There's a port project we are developing in Sitwe in Myanmar. All this will only fructify if there's peace and security. India and Thailand feel that together we can help, Myanmar arrive at a kind of a agreement where all parties, all stakeholders get together and find a solution which is acceptable to all. Eventually, both our countries, including China, I would say, which also has a long border, it's in our interest that there's peace and security in Myanmar. And I can tell you that India and Thailand are working very closely together with the government in Myanmar and other stakeholders to try and see how we can restore peace in our neighboring country there.
And we can see actually the instability rises right now in Myanmar too, and it really affects India and Thailand, no matter it's drug trafficking or human trafficking too. And actually, of course, this is a good news that actually Thai government extended the free visa policy for India and other countries too for 60 days, and of course, Indian government give the same 30 days to Thai nationals. But this could give an consequences as in Indian national, they can come in to Thailand with free visa, and it might link to Myanmar issue too. So that's the issue that both countries.
So we've been tackling this issue for almost 3-4 years since the coup happened in Myanmar, and we had a lot of Indians who were trapped in the border areas across the border in Myanmar, in Laos, in Cambodia. In the last 2 years, we have rescued and repatriated almost more than 300 Indian citizens from there. There are still people stuck up there. What we have been doing is we are running a very effective advisory program where we are trying to advise people back home in India about the risks of these job offers, and I call them job offers. Within quotes, we've been trying to tell them that they should double check when such offers come. There are other steps which we are taking, which I can't mention on television, but it is a challenge, like you said. It is a challenge which we have to collectively face, because let me tell you what I have seen here in the last year and a half that I've been in Thailand, that it's not just Indians who are there. They are citizens of Brazil, from Kenya, Uganda, Malaysia, Philippines, etc. So it's becoming even Thai citizens are Thai. So it's a global problem, and I think the international community is waking up to this challenge, which is becoming very, very big, as a transnational crime. And my expectation is, with the collective will of all our countries, the region and the international community, we will tackle this. But as of now, like you said, the risk which you mentioned, yes, it is there. And we will work with the Thai government on this and internally in India as well with our immigration authorities to try and sensitize people not to get, lured into these traps of the mafia across the border.
Very important point. And actually, Thai government right now, they aims to get rid of the name of criminal hub in Thailand, but of course, Thailand's government, they try to expedite the rescue with India, with other countries.
We get good cooperation from the Royal Thai government, very good cooperation.
Right. Another cooperation with between India and Thailand is economy, of course. We are looking forward to seeing the BIMSTEC Summit in September organized in Bangkok very soon. So just want to understand, how will this year's BIMSTEC Summit in Bangkok strengthen, forge the cooperations, not just Thailand and India, of course, the 7 countries in Bay of Bengal.
Absolutely. Like you rightly said, the BIMSTEC countries, all 7 or 8 of them, we share the littoral of the Bay of Bengal. We have common interests in terms of prosperity and development for our people. BIMSTEC is it's a region which comprises of almost 2 billion people, to which 1.4 billion are from India, but 2 billion is a big grouping. And, it is about technical and economic cooperation, from connectivity to greater trade to, climate change, sustainability, all these items, I can enumerate them, but for brevity, I would say that all the social and economic issues the world is talking about, BIMSTEC provides us with a platform where all these countries in the Bay of Bengal area get together and share their best practices, share their technical expertise to solve them collectively, from natural disaster to climate change, etc. And I think the summit in Bangkok in September will provide a fillip to this whole, endeavor. As you know, in the last summit in Colombo, for the first time, the charter of BIMSTEC was passed and it was made into an international organization. And I know that the Royal Thai government is deeply committed, as is the government of India. And that's why last week, I think on the 11th of July in Delhi, all the foreign ministers met in an informal retreat to think about new ideas, of how to make this cooperation more effective. And, a lot of positives came out of it. And hopefully the summit, when the leaders meet, will give it the push required so that we can, move ahead. And like I said, everything from tourism to education to culture, climate change, agriculture. I mean, every issue which is of interest to all the member countries will be dealt there. And hopefully in the years ahead, this will become, you have the ASEAN. I'm not saying this will replace ASEAN. I'm not saying that. Every institution or organization has its own standing. But I'm confident that, BIMSTEC in the years ahead will become a very, very important regional organization, given the dynamism and the rate of growth of the Indian economy, the dynamism of the Thai economy, of the Bangladesh economy, etc. There are a lot of complementarities. So I'm very, very positive and hopeful about the outcomes of the September summit here in Bangkok.
Yeah, and we can talk about again after the summit. And I think this is the key and the vitality of regionalization. As in every country, they want to share their knowledge, their strength to other countries too. And of course, in September, we might see some head of states from all these countries come. So we will confirm about it later on. Let's turn the page to international relations, of course. India and the neighboring countries right now are connected together, no matter it's economically or politically. But just want to understand, of course, given the territorial disputes and the public sentiments toward China, of course, right now, India and China economically connects together. Just want to understand, how can your country balance the public sentiments and economy?
So, let me tell you, India's foreign policy has a few very important aspects. One is multi-alignment, which used to be called a non-alignment in the past. But today India believes that We are the bridge builders. We are friends to everyone. Like you mentioned, we are members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS with Russia and China. We are a part of the Quad with the United States, Japan, Australia, and India. We are a part of something called the I2U2. It's called the Middle East Quad, where India, Israel, UAE, and the United States are together. We are a part of the G20, but we are also part of the G77, which is a group of developing countries. India does not believe in balancing because in international relations, balancing has a very negative connotation. But to the question you were asking, India and China are two ancient civilizational countries. We've had a very, very long history going back 2,000 years of cultural exchanges and trade and other kinds of relations. Yes, we have a problem in the north where the long border is still undefined. However, I mean, that is one area of contention. But if you look at India-China relations, we cooperate very closely on issues like climate change, on trade, etc. in international bodies. We also, under the rubric of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization, on the issues which these organizations cover. While we do have this problem, the territorial dispute you mentioned, if you look at trade, last year the trade had touched about 110, I'm not very sure of the exact number, but it had gone up. So what we had decided was that, we'll keep the dispute aside. While we work on solving that dispute, we will not keep hostage our other aspects of our bilateral relationship. However, in 2020, we had a skirmish in Ladakh area in Galwan, which has, slowed down that cooperation. But we are still talking. Our foreign minister was attending the SCO summit recently in Kazakhstan. The political leadership at the level of foreign minister, etc., are talking to each other. Our militaries are talking to each other at the ground level also in Ladakh, in the border with Tibet. So what I would say, we are two mature countries. We have differences of opinion, but like I said, like two mature, serious countries, we are confident we can sit together and solve our problems. Public opinion, I'd say that, nationalism is a universal phenomenon. Every country, every people have the sense of nationalism. But that doesn't mean that, this whole concept of either you are with us or against us, it's not a very Asian concept. In India, or in other parts of Asia, we can, have disagreements, but we can have friendship also. So it doesn't have to be either or. It can be somewhere in between. But I have a feeling for the greater good of our region, of the planet. We are two of the largest countries in the world in terms of population. I am confident that, whatever the dispute is, eventually we will get there and solve it.
So it's not always black and white and
It's not always black and white. I totally agree. I mean, if you look at our Asian philosophy, it's not always black and white. We have a lot of colors in between, the rainbow colors in between.
Putting the risk aside, and we see the good side of the international relations. But one of the move from the Prime Minister Modi is to meet President of Russia, Putin, earlier this month. This is another move, maybe caused some controversy in international relations. What do you think about it?
Not for us. Not for us. India and Russia relationship is time-tested. It's a very deep relationship going back to the Cold War and even before. It's a trusted friend. Russia is a very trusted friend. It's a very popular country in India, in the sense amongst the Indian people. They have stood by us during the times when, going back 40 years during the Cold War, when the rest of the world wouldn't stand up for us. Prime Minister Modi went to Moscow for the annual summit. Last few years, because of COVID, it did not happen. But since the year 2000, we have this concept of an annual summit with Russia, wherein our Prime Minister goes to Moscow or wherever in Russia, and similarly the President of Russia comes to India. So it was nothing new. And if you see the Prime Minister's visit, he went there and he mentioned in Moscow, I mean, I think it was a very powerful message that, this is not an era of war. His heart sinks when he sees children dying. He said, we are for dialogue and diplomacy. What more powerful message you can have than a closed friend of Russia in Moscow, in Kremlin, telling the president of the Russian Federation that, dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward and the war should end. And for us, again, like I said, it's a very Western construct that either you are with us or you're against us. India is on its own side. My foreign minister was asked somewhere, are you on this side or that side? He said, no, I'm on my side. So India will do what is in India's interest, what is in the interest of Indian people. At the same time, it will do its bit to bring, given its capacities, to bring all the warring factions together, give its counsel, and facilitate peace and stability and restoration of peace, But we will do what's in our interest, and we will, like the visit to Russia, it's a routine visit which is happening, and we don't believe in sanctions, we don't believe in boycotting countries. That's our legacy, and that's our belief.
So it means that it's not a spectacular move. It's not a unique move.
Like I said, this was the 20th annual summit.
Yeah.
So India has these annual summits with countries like Japan, with Germany, where the leadership comes, once to India, and then our leadership goes there. And this is a part of that, routine annual summit which was happening.
Before we end this interview, I think we need to go into some soft topic.
Sure.
I think you understand the similarities between Thailand and India in terms of culture, in terms of people. So you've been here for more than 1 year, 1.5 years. So what have you seen on the ground in Thailand and India? Because I know you joined so many soft events, like art events, cultural events too. So what do you think about it?
In India, like I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we refer to Thailand as a civilizational neighbor. We don't say it's a land neighbor, maritime neighbor. And why I say that, I mean, in the last year and a half I had seen, and before I came to live here, I didn't realize it. And the tragedy is a lot of Thai people don't know the similarities between our two countries and between our two peoples, whether it's religion, not just Buddhism. You walk on Sukhumvit Road, you will see Lord Shiva, Ardhanarishwar, the Erawan Brahma, or the Ganesha statues. So it's beliefs, that religion, traditions. You have Songkran, we have Sankranti, you have Loikrathong, we have Boita Bandana. I can go on and on telling you. Languages, I mean, your language and our language has a lot of influence of Sanskrit and Pali. Your names are all Indian names. I was sitting in a room where there were 3 girls sitting. All their 3 names were similar to my cousins back in India. One of them was Suchitra, other one was Sukanya, one was Anjali. And I said, you're Thai girls, but I have family members who have the same names. So, we can go on and on talking about the similarities between Thailand and India. And whether it's on the cultural side, whether, you have the Ramaki and we have the Ramayana, there's so many legends, there's so many myths which are similar. I want that, more and more Thai, especially the younger generation, both in India and Thailand, become aware of how closely we linked are. And I must say, and I feel sad at times, that neither the Thais know it, nor do the, Thailand looks at India purely from the perspective of Buddhism, but it's more than Buddhism, like I said. Language, literature, people have been going up and down, for 2,000 years. I was in Isan region at the Ubon Ratchathani Museum. I saw a rock inscription there from 7th century AD, 7th century. It was written in Sanskrit language, but in Pallava script. The point I'm making is that 1600 or not 1400 years ago in northeast of Thailand, a language and a script which was used in southern India was being used here. You have Ayutthaya, we have Ayodhya.
Yes.
Ayodhya in India is considered to be the place of Lord Rama, and His Majesty's dynastic name is Rama X. So it's a huge connect, and I'm confident that this civilizational connect between our two countries facilitates and will further facilitate our political relations, our economic relations, our the defense and security ties, tourism. I mean, last year 1.6 million Indians came to Thailand. This year TAT is estimating that by the end of the year almost 2.4 million Indian people will be visiting Thailand. It's the most popular destination for Indians as tourists. So, it's a whole bouquet of, aspects of our cultural relationship or people-to-people connect. And I hope on the education side, similarly, we have about 6 or 7 India study centers in places like Chulalongkorn University, Chiang Mai University, Ubon Ratchathani, in Thammasat, in Mahidol. New universities like Prince of Songkhla in Hatyai and Surat Thani are asking for the India study centers. More and more students are learning Hindi language, they're learning Sanskrit, Pali. Buddhist monks are going to India to study. Indians are coming here to Mahachulalongkorn and to Mahamakut University. So, I can speak for 2 hours on the cultural linkages, but I know your time is limited. So, you're absolutely right. It's a it's a unique relationship, which is, unparalleled. If you look at, I look at other countries, and perhaps barring China, I don't think you have the kind of deep cultural linkages with any other country. So, you're truly Indo-China. Thailand has a very important position.
Yes. And you talk about it's a very huge connection, deep connection, culturally, in religion, people-to-people connections there. And right now we're looking forward to see strengthening the educational side too. Okay, thank you for your time, Ambassador, Indian Ambassador to Thailand, Nagesh Sin.
Thank you
Great
very
to
much.
have you on the show.
Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณครับ